That's him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
He's over here.
Good for her.
Oh, no, no.
Probably him. Later.
Do you have any idea how many kids they serve?
Starting second base.
I have the board meeting minutes
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
on file, so I can't do it off the top. But I definitely have it in my dissertation, and I can actually, like, I have it, because I know how many they had at the, where Helen Gordon Center is on PSU campus. So I know that, and I know their satellite, I was like, and in the second satellite program that they ran. So Fruit and Flower didn't come in until after the war. There were 5 daycare centers operating that were part of the federal government. Fruit and Flower came in as the war ended, because they said, well, women, you need to quit your jobs, go back and take care of your kids.
Oh, yes.
These programs are gone. And Fruit and Flower said, whoa, some of these women are still working, they're single moms. There's a huge demand for services. Friendly House was also doing services, which is one of the parts of the festival, which is an old settlement house. But it wasn't enough capacity, the number of children that needed help. So they maintained one of the old war daycare centers as Fruit and Flower daycare center.
Okay.
And so it's all written about Fruit and Flower, it's been around for 100 and something years, and they actually saved all of their records. And they let me into their daycare, it's a nursery school. They let me into their nursery school
This
records.
is-
So I got to read all the
This
board
is
meeting
where they
minutes.
poured.
Wow. So,
And all this discussion, and then they started
And
another
then
one
when
after the
Vanport
flood.
flooded,
They
this
started
is where
another
they put all
daycare
those
center.
trailers.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
The trail home.
How
Paul's
many kids
right
do you
there.
think they had?
So
We
then-
went in 46
That,
is
you
when
know,
we,
about.
June of 46 is when we left.
I lived right
Okay.
there.
A lot of parents were really afraid to put their kids in
But
childcare
we
at
had
that
one
time.
of these
I read
units
stories
here,
about
seven
children being left out.
of us, 4 adults and 3 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how we know that.
Wow.
I lived in one like,
Duplex?
Yeah.
fourplex.
Well, fear of
Initially, when we came to go, I was like living in a
Well, I think
fourplex
that
like that.
concept of daycare and,
But then we
well,
moved.
they
I lived down there 6 years.
Nursery
school and stuff
We
like
had
that.
this kind of a court, you know, off from the front door.
So,
on
yeah.
And there was
basis.
this whole idea of like,
But I'll show you where you live.
what class person you, what were they trying to take you to put your into the different people?
Did you, this is the
And there's like,
segregated housing area across the street from Gow's Lake,
well,
and
welcome,
then
thank
the
you
rest
all
of it was
for
up there.
finding us tonight.
On front.
Today.
Okay.
Going in, the community center was out there.
Mhm. There's the school.
How you doing?
Right, 'cause I-
Hey, there he is.
How are you?
40,000 people. Gow's Lake had 5,000 out of 10,000 people, according to Kimbark for Collin, which is sort of the larger number.
Right.
The census data I found says about 3,000, but that's the census from 1950. And a lot of people, we assume by 1950, half of the African American population had already returned to other southern states. Because not everyone stayed. And that's white and black. A lot of people after the war returned.
Right.
Okay, so I think you saw I've sold this sign. This is a picture I took of it before I sold it. And it's across the street where we just had our little lunch. And this is, because now that I have my degree, I go and I get to give lectures. I gave a lecture recently in Seattle, and they thought it was a little bit upbeat compared to a lot of my real hardcore lectures. But this was about toys. And I wanted to talk to you about this because none of you have really shared a lot to me about comics and toys. So I want to talk about the home front years, the toys, the comics, the things that compelled you guys to be such great volunteers in the housing project, and what you did as children, since I've got to realize that what I really have in a story I'm really trying to push with the book publisher right now is a story of childhood. And I didn't know a lot about, and I'm gonna learn a lot more about baseball. I'm gonna pay attention today. I learned a lot about basketball. But now I've got to learn more about baseball and about the comic books and what memberships you might have had besides the Not Whole League, Victory memberships. I talked to you about Victory Gardens, but I never really asked about toys, but I kept seeing them in the photographs. And some of the photographs are going to be here today. So this is in case anyone in the room wasn't familiar. We have to assume some of our audience members might not be familiar. So we're right here at this dot, basically. Probably right on it. But so, because some of the infill sites, this is all the infill Gow's Lake was all in this neighborhood. A lot of the Conway sites today. And this is where, when it was originally segregated, this is the first housing. The Morse Marks housing was built in like 42. Most of this was built within a year. And then we have the African American section was built in 44, and the school is right here. And like I said, this was at the time, it's the 12th largest housing project ever built in the United States. At the time, it was the 8th largest housing project ever built in the United States. Portland had, if you look at these totals, more public housing than New York City or Chicago at the time. And I love public housing history. I think some people figured that out at the back end, that I did my master's work on PWII, public housing. I came to Portland and I started working on Columbia Villa. And I started seeing these numbers because I was doing my Columbia Villa research, 400 permanent housing units. And I started seeing this number. And I think because all the documents always split Giles Lake up into 8 sections, I don't think people did the math and came up with a 2,600 number and realized there's something kind of going on here, because it was hidden because they never put that number together. And in a way, it's a sort of a way, history was erased even before it was created. Because they were trying not to they didn't really want people to notice that they built this massive housing project right in northwest Portland, in Slabtown. Here's one of the aerial views. I mean, you can't even get an aerial view that shows the entire housing project. This is,
Oh, I love that phrase. Making your family a fighting unit.
Oh, right.
Front victory.
so I went and looked up all these slogans and all these posters, and I was trying to learn, on the back end a little bit more about where was all these people in the fire brigades and the junior patrol, and just what was going on that really engaged people differently than children are engaged in. Because I have a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I work a lot with middle schoolers at the public school system, and I actually worked with 9th graders, at-risk youth who go to summer school, and they use Giles Lake as their curriculum this year.
As their what?
As their curriculum, their storyline, to work on mapping, cartography.
Love it.
So Jara, I think that's her name, she's the curriculum advisor for Portland Public Schools. She contacted me, and she wanted to teach students how to use primary source documents. And I have all sorts of strange, bizarre, from leases to postcards to newspaper articles to that sign you saw. That's all primary source documents. And to try to allow them to know the difference between primary source and secondary sources. And I gave them part of Chuck. I gave them part of one of the memories you'd written, because it's written differently than mine, because that's a primary source document that you'd written. And yours had a lot of heart, and they had to go through wearing their white cap and their red cap and their black cap and interpret, when you were writing emotional, when you were writing a fact, so they got to use these different documents that I've pulled together for my dissertation, and to understand a different history than they've ever learned at the same time of Portland. Also because I focused so much on middle schoolers working in the fire brigade, working in the junior patrol, that's a lot of what I've written on, that the history that they were learning about was about childhood, something that their experience, instead of trying to learn about what it was like to work in the shipyards when they haven't gotten to that part of their life yet. And I hope it worked really well. And that's part of the reason why the website was designed, because I was having a lot of problems sharing the information with teachers at Marshall and Roosevelt. And so the website is on all of the invitations that I sent for this reunion. So there, I'm communicating today. This aerial of the school that was built at Giles Lake. And I keep learning more and more that more and more of you didn't even go to school. How many of you went to St. Pat's? Just because we got the camera on here. And now I found out someone went to Chapman School. Who went to Chapman School on split shifts? And one of you went on to become the principal of Chapman School.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you never got to leave. And then, did anyone go to Linton School? Or how about Benson? Chuck,
I went to Benson, but my sister, her last year in Giles Lake went to Failing School out on, they were bused to Failing because they closed Giles Lake School.
Exactly. I
Okay.
was a part of that group.
Yeah, I remember.
And then, Obi, you told me you went to Cooch School, which is now the Metropolitan Learning Center. So I'm finding out that there's more, I'm really interested in those school years.
Well, what happened, Tanya, is when Giles Lake School closed in 51, I think, 49. In 49, Giles Lake School closed, and all the students who were in Giles Lake School were bused to other grade schools, Cooch, Failing, schools that had openings for students. So,
No, the school, I went there 46 to 50, I finished the 4th grade. So it was open at the end of 50.
okay, then,
Or at least until June 50.
Yeah, at least in June of 50. Because I left in the last 3 years of my 4th grade, I was at Kellogg.
Sounds like you went to the 4th grade 3 years. Easy.
Okay. And this is something, I obviously can't print these, I don't have copyright to them. But I started really looking at some of these comic books. Did any of you guys read comic books? You never told me anything about them.
sure.
I know nothing about you. I can say children from 1940 read comic books, but did kids from Giles Lake Courts read comic books?
Yep.
Big time.
Yep.
Because you told me about buying the war stamps and licking them, and put them on the school, the competition, and the classroom at Gauss Lake School that sold the most war stamps got to have the banner. But I didn't know your comic book heroes were selling these things. And by the way, all these books can be checked out if any of you want them. I found the Flash Gordon from the 40s.
Tanya?
Yeah.
There were comic books, there was no television, you had to have some kind of
Visual stimulation.
visual stimulus. And comic books were cheap, they were on every newsstand, you could go buy a comic book on a newsstand, very inexpensive. And you had your heroes and you followed them.
Well, the great activity amongst kids was trading comic books.
Yeah.
It was kind of a social event. You come over to so-and-so's house, you brought your tradables, and you traded for the ones you hadn't read, and it was quite a bargaining session. Classic comic books were high on the list. You got 2 for 1.
These are like the golden era comic books. As a historian, you realize that these comic books go for about $2,000 a piece, right?
Yeah.
So I never gotten to touch them until I started finding all these reprints. The problem with the reprints is they don't have all the advertising, so I started digging harder trying to find some of the advertising, some of the other information that's in these.
They didn't have everybody.
I found a little bit. Tootsie Roll. I have a Tootsie Roll ad in here. Because I guess, and I know there's some guys back told me that you got into an airplane one time and took the war rations out and ate them.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently Tootsie Rolls are a big war ration item.
They're good for you.
That's what they tell me in the ad in the comic book.
The only way we can afford chocolate.
Well, actually, it was a lifesaver for a lot of the troops that were in Europe in World War II, because 44 and 45 was one of the coldest winters on record in Europe. And so the deal is that Tootsie Rolls give you a lot of energy without taking up a lot of space. See?
So I'm glad. See, why didn't you tell me this before? I had to go digging, and now I know.
Yeah.
You guys knew all this.
Comic books tossed a dime during the war.
Cost a dime. And they were telling you right here. The reasons I chose these particular ones is, keep America, flying, buy war bonds and stamps. Here's Batman and Robin. I'm having a great time because I have a 9-year-old, so I'm doing my research while I'm reading him comic books. Action comics. I know this guy, Superman. I've heard of him. Grew up tonight and all that. He's fighting the Nazis. There's a swastika right there. Now buy bonds and stamps. Smash Axis tanks too. The idea that you kids are actually buying bombs. Like my kid's not even allowed to pretend guns at the playground now. You guys are actually getting these stamps, and you knew that money was going to go to buy a tank. To buy,
Gonna do that
save
now.
money and buy weapons.
Every kid's dream.
And then, and also, a lot of the hatred I read about towards African Americans sort of dimmed just for a little bit in the war years, and it came back right after the war. But that hate was really sent towards other ethnic groups. And this is a picture that shows a lot, very inappropriate, depiction of Japanese. And that's why I kind of put that in. And once again, the war bond, war stamp sale.
They actually did a survey during World War II of the troops, and it says, would you rather not kill, it would be a German or an Italian or Japanese, and there was less resistance to killing someone that was Japanese compared to Italian or German.
The German, his face is not quite as oddly depicted, but the Japanese are very characterized.
Yeah,
Very-
different, but.
And that shows up right there in that comic book.
The other big thing was going to the Blue Mouse Theater, and it wasn't down on
Washington.
yeah, it was on Washington, and it was a double feature, and you had comics, cartoons, and cereals. Two cereals.
I remember I sat in some gum there, my mom took the pants back to see if they give us a new pair of pants.
Yeah.
So you turned him to to Meyer Frank or?
No, at the Blue Mouse, there at the
Oh.
movie house, I said, somebody put some gum on the seat.
So you,
Oh, jeez.
You had to go every Saturday in order to keep up with the
Yeah,
cereal.
that's right.
Oh, yeah, had
Tell me a
Rocket,
little bit about that.
had
This
Rocket
This
Man
Rocket
and a few
Man.
others, yeah.
Gotta have Rocket Man.
Rocket
Yeah,
Man.
what he's gonna do.
They always left you in a desperate situation at the end, and so you had to go back.
Find out
what
Saturday,
happened.
find out what happened.
How much would it cost to go to the
Tanya,
movies?
I just was looking on my log here that when I was 9 years old in '44, for my birthday, I received a wallet, shirt, knife, table tennis, airplane, and war bond. So that's what I got. No comic book.
okay.
Well, I did get some stockings, but I got a color book.
Well, you really made out.
Oh, I did pretty good, didn't I?
I think so.
Yeah, there was Buster Crab in some sort of space
I
thing.
got a hand up. I'm sorry, I'm a school teacher. But,
No, I can remember distinctly, we went to the Blue Mouse, right next to it was that original Coney Island.
Yeah.
You guys remember that? That was it, that was a deal, real
The big
deal.
tree.
Yeah, that was a big deal if you had enough money.
At a quarter, you could get a big Coney Island.
Big Coney Island, that was,
Hilger Theater on 24th and Thurman had cereals
yeah,
too.
Alamo.
Alamo.
Alamo, Bluebird, Blue Mouse. You guys are spending your money on these movies.
The community house we're building in Giles Lake also had cereals.
Yeah.
And some movies too.
Oh, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah, Friday night.
Oh, and the
Yeah.
recreation.
I remember
center.
those, yeah.
My first date was at a Giles Lake, Friday night movie at the Guam Street Community Center.
Those movies, what were they, like in the 20s or something? They were just all those real grainy black and white things that you just can't hardly make out. It was pretty
The
cool.
Dead End Gang.
Well, you gotta have that, yeah.
Although by then, a lot of the movies were becoming, we didn't have color then, everything was black and white, but there was a lot of movie production during the war. Some of it that wasn't, war related.
But some of it was kind of more propaganda or.
Used to have
Everything,
news
well,
You said
in your
movies.
side it was
Wow, everything
propaganda.
was propaganda.
Yeah, on our side it was the truth.
How much did it cost to go to the movies?
It was pretty cheap.
Ah.
The Blue Mouse was 15 cents,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it was pretty cheap.
Yeah, Blue Mouse was cheap, it was 15, the rest was 25.
I think so. I asked that friend of mine, why'd they call it the Blue Mouse? He said, well, look down underneath that chair. There was a blue mouse about that long, and I figured out that's what happened.
Well, the surprising thing is when they have the newsreels from the war zone, it was in color. See, it's the first color film was actually the war zone newsreels. In fact, that's where people really got to see the color of a lot of blood was.
Had a friend who had worked for the Navy in Hawaii, worked for Kodak Hawaii. That's what he did. He made color movies, newsreels.
Yeah.
I think there's another thing in that movie thing that related to this.
Uh-huh.
Broadway, downtown Broadway, I mean, there were 7 movie theaters on Broadway. And to go downtown to go to a movie theater was really huge if you lived in Giles Lake. And I remember our 8th grade teacher took the 8th grade class to the Paramount Theater, and the movie we watched was Going My Way with Bing Crosby and Barry Fitzgerald. And we took off at lunch, rode the streetcar downtown, and walked all the way up Broadway, because from Washington to the Broadway Theater or the Paramount Theater is like 7 blocks. But that was an huge excursion. You could go to the Blue Mouse, but if you got on Broadway and went to one of the big theaters, that was really something.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then you had the circle, the Capitol, the roundup, down on the 3rd, 4th.
Yeah.
Circle, or the Capitol was a vaudeville. They had live vaudeville.
Still.
My dad used to take
I don't know, so keep talking.
Well, the other part of it,
Don't let me interrupt you.
with
Kid in the middle.
with the Buster Crab thing, here's these people flying around in space machines, and then when they fought each other with swords. You know, it finally kind of dawned on me, Dad, why is they fly around these rocket ships, but they fight with swords? It's just, you know, it's artist's choice. So.
Mescal family was on my route, paper route. And they did the south side of Luzon, I think it was 3210. And I still remember that, and all the Mescal boys have died. Milo Mescal was the oldest, and Durwood and
Bobby.
And
We lived right next door to them. Yeah. Right next door. I thought I was related to them.
Well, yeah,
They're old.
Beverly's who
Beverly?
introduced me to you two.
Yeah, where is Beverly?
Where is
I
Beverly?
don't know where Beverly
I'm
is.
surprised she's not here, yeah.
And you know, I put, you know, so this is, I found, because so Chuck gave me, and Alice has given me a bunch of the Girls Lake newspapers. I'm gonna need to talk to you again, Chuck, to get more of them and get them copied up, right? And I found this in one of them, this poem that Beverly wrote. So that's what,
Really?
and this is a poem she wrote about victory stamps, you know, save a penny Jim, save a penny Sue,
Mhm.
spend it on a war stamp, I'll take care of you. So just like, this is, you know, it's like if I put one of my son's poems up on the overhead. So she was in school, and that's a poem she wrote for the school
Yeah.
paper, and I found it. So I don't even know if she knows that there is a poem in there, but you guys can give her a call and tell her I put it up on the overhead.
Milo's restaurant over on Broadway, near the Paramount, the Urban Theater Building is the descendants of the Mescals.
Really?
Yeah, it's over by the, it's on Broadway and by, you know where Stanford's is over there?
Yeah.
Or there used to be Roses, they just went up.
Yes.
Right across the street, that's Milo's.
Was that right?
Daughter runs it.
Yeah.
His
Is that right?
pancake got nice,
Okay.
yeah, real nice.
Okay, I've been there, yeah.
And they got pictures.
He was a fine, fine man, that guy.
Bobby was a great guy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Marvin mentioned to me that the name of that dog is called Mitch. in case
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
that dog's name is Midge.
Well, it's funny, I put all the names of all the dogs and everything on it, and people got confused, cause they thought it was, there's Tanya, you've labeled more people, than, there's more names here than people, and I'm like, yeah, that's the dog's name.
You
Oh,
should-
cause you know, you have somebody copy edit
I'm
your
pretty sure that's it,
dissertation.
because it was a black Cocker Spaniel, and that's what it looks
Yeah.
like from back here.
And we got two dogs.
It had about 75 litters of puppies.
Yeah. Those days,
Well, Beverly
neuter
was always
wasn't
talking about
invented,
how her
but it-
family
yeah.
wanted her to marry this guy so she'd have normal sized children. You guys know who this is, right?
Did,
Come on.
did she marry Bobby Bratton? I think she did.
Beverly married Bobby
Beverly, Beverly.
But, yeah, she's very close.
And that's sweet, that's sweet, she always jokes about that. I met Bobby, I've never met him.
Bob Bratton,
Yeah, I know his address, but.
detective for years, police department.
Really?
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
See, we gotta get
Played
more,
baseball.
this is my fear, I want this reunion to keep going year after year, and I'm gonna love ideas from you guys, keep in contact with me, how we can get more people to come, because a lot of people, you know, it's gonna be harder and harder for them to come, and I really still want us to be able to get together, and I don't like it if we keep getting to be a smaller group, and I don't want us to be washed out either, so if you guys have ideas,
Not a good deal.
you know, even though I'm done writing the paper, I'm still interested in what you
One of our Giles Lake Padres has a real large collection of the Giles Lake newspapers from the school that came out every week. And she showed it to me.
Alex?
Alice Hagan.
I saw a couple of them, she came to one
And
year.
they're amazing because I remember on Fridays, you got dismissed from class a little early because you had to color the newspaper and everyone had a big stack and we were coloring
Oh,
with colored
individually.
pencils before.
Did I
they
give
were
you the one or I just give you a copy of
distributed.
it?
I haven't seen all my, so Chuck and I were on KBOO together, and you brought some stuff to KBOO that I still wanna get from you. The problem is, why don't you retire? This man works for the Blazers so much, I can't even find them in. You know, a lot of you, I get a lot of emails and stuff that Saturday doesn't work, cause a lot of people are like, busy. You guys are busier than me. I don't know how you do it.
You gotta reinvent yourself in order to survive.
So, a bunch of these pictures are up on the wall too. The whole idea of mend and make do, sort of like a wartime slogan, you know, cause I'm kinda sticking on the home front today. This idea that you guys didn't just go shopping and buy things, that you guys patched your clothes, you shared toys. You don't have the closets with boxes of kid toys like I have in my house, right, when you were a kid?
Okay, this is related to that. Most of these places didn't have closets. We had one little storage place.
Yeah.
Everything we had, not just the kids, but everybody went in that one place. So you didn't have tons of things. And most of what you had was small.
I wanna go around and just kinda ask what you kinda would get for, during the wartime, what do you get for Christmas? Can we just say your name and kinda, do you know what you might have gotten as a gift for Christmas?
Well, thinking back on it,
Or Hanukkah or whatever, you know.
I can remember one of those Roy Rogers big gun, cap guns.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you pushed it with your thumb and it opened up, put the caps in there. I remember that. Oh, a bicycle. Bikes were big. Yeah, everyone had a bike, it seemed like.
Especially if you had a newspaper to win, right? Did you?
Yes.
What'd you
Yeah.
get?
Yeah, anybody
Did you
carried
get any
neighbors
diff-
had bicycles, but You lived on your bicycle. One of the great things Gauss Lake was flat, so you could ride all over and never have to climb a hill, except when cabins.
So even with the rubber rationing and stuff, it was.
Oh, you could always get tires.
Okay.
Bicycle tires are always big ones.
Okay.
Montgomery Wards.
Monkey wards.
What, Monkey Ward, so were there like there's like 3 floors of that were
Yeah, it was a
retail.
department store. It was a,
And Bob, one of the aunts you lived with worked at Montgomery Wards,
Yes,
right?
she did.
Did she call it Monkey Wards too, or did she call it?
No, she worked at Myron Franks and my uncle worked for Montgomery Wards. Yeah.
But you liked having 2 members working.
Well, yeah, that's why I got so many presents, I guess. Cause in '43, I got for Christmas, I got football, shoes, I got a football, shoes, sweater, gun, bedroom slippers, a jackknife, and a coloring books, and I got stockings again, and a war bond.
So.
I did pretty good.
So did a lot of you guys have like toy guns then? You know, like how moms today are, don't get your toy guns. There's that little toy museum, I don't know if you know about it, it's on Grand Street in Southeast. And I took my son there, and he's like, Mom, look at all these guns. And they'll look real to him. You know, kids' toy guns today don't look like guns. They're bright orange and purple. Chuck?
in 8th grade, I bought a machete from war surplus and traded it for 22 when I was in 8th grade. So it wasn't just toy guns.
But that was a simpler life then.
Yeah, it was a simpler life.
Well, back in the late 50s, you only had to be 18 to buy, or 16 to buy a rifle or shotgun, and only 18 to buy a handgun.
See, the things I'm learning today. And how old did you have to be to buy cigarettes?
I didn't have
Well,
smoke.
I heard kids went and bought cigarettes for their parents, that wasn't a problem.
Oh, yeah, that was
Rations.
one too.
Except that you couldn't have a name brand for your cigarettes.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean a name?
Okay, you couldn't, like, you know how people now like one particular type of smokes? I heard it was so hard to get smokes.
Harold rolled his own.
Well, they're
That you just wanted to
A
wear.
lot of rolled their own, but there weren't a lot of
Yeah,
brands.
you buy the
Yeah.
paper and you put it there and you work this machine and you could crank them out that way.
I remember Fred Myers down on Yam Hill, 5th and Yam Hill, lining up during the war. Cigarettes were hard to get because all went to the soldiers, servicemen. And I remember my mother standing in line down the 5th and Yam Hill, Fred Myers and 5th and Yam Hill, to stand in line to buy cigarettes for my dad. He was a chain smoker.
LSMFT.
LS.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco.
Yeah.
Lucky Strike Green has gone to
to
war.
Yeah.
Lady
Pictures of
seats
the
make
cheese
fine targets.
And I heard a lot of the toy manufacturers, because I've been reading books like these, stopped making toys. That they started using their factories to produce
Oh, yeah.
ammunition shells and different things. And that's, you know, Tootsie Roll was one of the few candy bars and Babe Ruth, I think, that actually were still in operation during the war. And then the toys, materials had changed the rationing. You didn't get little metal toys anymore. Like things were made out of composition, just kind of like a paste with wood.
Composition sawdust kind of presses a lot of, it was just terrible, because the barrel of your gun always broke off.
So you had
Pretty good.
composition.
Tanya, and I
Much
think
better.
the first manifestation of plastic toys came right at the end of the war, because I have, well, I like, all of us, we collected little model Navy ships that were made out of lead.
Okay.
And I've got 2 aircraft carriers of the same model that were made out of plastic.
Wow.
So that was just about the transition toward the end of the war from metal to plastic toys.
And did a lot of your toys have like seams? Because my son was looking at a book, he's like, Mom, these things, they're not well made at all. He's like looking through the pictures during one of our meetings. So you're talking about how the gun broke, the composition guns?
Right.
Were these things?
Well, yeah, they weren't made well at all. It was very poor quality and poor paint jobs and everything else, but your imagination had to make up for what the toy itself lacked.
Homemade rubber band guns were a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
See,
Rubber guns.
parents make things out of wood.
Rubber guns. Rubber guns.
Yeah.
And use a clothespin in the shape of a gun, and you put it in there and look around the end, and good for about 20 feet.
Well, if you use rubber guns, are also used to take old, tire inner tubes, and cut them in strips.
There you
Narrow
go.
strips, tie a knot in them, and then you put it on a gun, and you could do maybe 25 yards on those.
All the secrets you've kept from me.
I wrote about that.
That was like a slingshot.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a twig and you got the 2 pieces of rubber band, cut a, tongue from a shoe, sewed that up, and then shot it. With a piece of gravel or rock.
Oh, the
Cause
tongue
you-
from the shoe is the leather part.
Yes.
That held your amp.
We used to actually have many wars.
Did teachers
with-
let you bring these things into school, or were these kept at home?
Oh, they're kept at home.
Okay.
Yeah, although if you took them to school, I don't think you could search for it until Arnie became principal.
Yeah, right. I know where you had them.
Cause he knew about those things.
And so,
I know where the kids went to smoke at Chapman,
I know that.
figured that out right away. Same place we went. Behind the friendly shops, yeah.
Okay.
During the war, we made arrow guns, shingles. Yeah.
The notch in it.
Yeah.
We pulled it back this way, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
help me out here.
With a shingle?
Arrow guns with a tongue and groove board, we shaped it into the shape of a rifle. And we used shingles for the arrows.
Oh, I remember that.
Strip shingles into.
So the shingles that, like
Yeah.
roofing shingles, okay.
How many of you had BB gun wars up in the park? Those are terrible. Everyone put on their heaviest cords.
They
pair of
still
pants.
stung though, didn't they?
Yeah. We're gonna put our eyes
I
out.
thought
First one I was
paintball
in,
fights were
Arnie was
bad.
out in the dump over by the old incinerator.
Yeah, that's right,
Remember
by
that?
the
You
old
just go out-
incinerator, yeah.
You go out there and shoot rats and your friends.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember we had
And now
dirt.
you all get to tell me you hop trains too. Great.
We did.
Any other secrets?
When the switch was, but we used to
Incinerator
have
was-
dirt clod fights.
Okay.
On the big, yeah, that was real nice
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
I got hit with one
Yeah,
of
that
those.
was great.
Yeah, remember that?
You could
Some
find
guy
it
hit me
dirt.
right between the shoulder blades, just knocked the wind right out of me, I just dropped like a dead bird.
You could find any dirt in the guy's life.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right.
Mostly sand.
Yeah.
And
But
now
we
they're all
did.
just laughing
Never-
about it and having a good time.
Whenever you play marbles and you had to find, you dig the holes, you know, for your marbles and it's hard to find
Hey.
the sand, so you put it on a path. So people would stumble in the holes then all the
Well,
time.
yeah, Tanya, when she interviewed me, asked me what we did in our spare time. We used to go down those sewers all underneath the old Giles Lake, those drain, we had all kinds of areas out there to check
What I
out.
heard about some of that, cause I went to do some research, trying to figure out
Mhm.
some of the source, some of the things that I think kids were playing in were actually built to dump the oil from the tanks into the river if we ever got attacked. So it looked kind of like sewer troughs and
Yeah.
stuff, but it was actually, the point was all those tank,
Yeah, I
all the tank
remember
farms
that.
was just
Yeah.
to dump it.
I didn't
So
know
there were
about
some troughs
that,
that
but,
looked
yeah.
like, my understanding, some of the stuff that people were saying sewer, and I actually went trying to figure out where these were. And so apparently if we were under, they didn't
Attack.
wanna have an explosion from the tanks. So the idea to drain the tanks was just to dump them straight to the river.
Oh.
So there was actually like construction built along there, which the kids could have played on. I was trying to figure out where you guys were playing.
The drains were made to take the runoff off the hill.
Yeah. Clear
There was,
Creek.
35th and St. Helens Road, it's got one under there, and then, yeah,
And these are open drains, right?
They're graded.
yes.
Great.
And they,
Where
when
the-
it was dry, when in the summertime, some of us used to go under I didn't go there.
Yeah.
That's what you want your mom to think. Okay, go ahead. I didn't do it.
I did.
Oh,
Well,
you did.
Well, they had, from Bald's Creek is one of them, but the deal is that just about all of the creeks that came down, went down and then actually went underneath. Because
Because you tested
almost all,
bravery, how
all
far
of
you
them.
could go into that tunnel.
I've gone to the manholes ever since Tracy Pierce has written a book about Goose Hollow. And there's manholes, and you can hear Tanner Creek. So she
Mhm.
talks about what manholes, and I can actually stand over one near my house. So I live on 18th. It's on Flanders and 17th. There's a manhole. I can actually hear Tanner Creek still running.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And I didn't know what that was before. Now I know that there's certain manholes that are, have the holes that you can actually listen to the creeks run. I've been getting a lot more pictures, and I'm gonna keep updating the website, especially with like pictures from the city archives, cause they don't have copyright restrictions. I've got a bunch of the Gona Street activities, so this is just the one of the 5 centers. You know, from Bluebirds to Cub Scouts to Junior Volunteer Fire Department to organized sports, crafts, teenage pool, games, campfire girls, social clubs, story hours, Sunday worship. There's a lot of great things, and I got to meet one of the women, Mrs. Raz, Marie Raz, came to our first reunion. She's passed on, but she used to work at the center, so she's told me a lot of the stories of canned music versus live music. So when she taught folk dancing, she got to get live music sometimes, but other times we had canned music, and about the dances there. And
The community hall, you had a picture of that, also doubled as a church on Sundays.
which
Yeah, right here.
the big
Guys
community
like-
hall that was right
I
near
think I got saved there 3 times.
You got saved?
That was
Quite
a-
often.
That was the first community hall that was built, because
This
that
one?
was the first part of the lake that was built,
Okay.
when Wake Street and Giles Court were.
And this is the one, and I've got pictures, a lot more pictures across the street in the history exhibit for the whole neighborhood, but there's 2 whole panels. I've got the pictures of this because it's connected to the grocery store.
The grocery
Yeah.
store is that right wing.
Yeah. So
And
I've got about 4 pictures of it. If you
He was only open for probably, he was open when he moved in 43, and by the summer of 44 it was gone, so.
That's what really seems to me to be different about Giles Lake Courts than Vanport, is that the commercial activities were really outside of the community. There isn't the theater, there isn't the grocery stores,
Giles Lake was 10,000 people without an infrastructure. There were no stores, post offices, filling stations within the limits of the lake. You had to go outside everywhere you wanted. You went up to Slabtown to shop. To go to the.
and hence the Slabtown Festival that we're in the middle of today, that we're hearing a little bits of
So do you
music
think
from.
that that was due partly to the fact that they wanted this to remain a temporary community?
Well, it had a lot to do with temporary, but the time.
Or was it just because
I don't-
everything was in a hurry?
Everything was in a hurry. You built the place in a hurry, and you evacuated in a hurry.
So the Housing Authority of Portland hired the 8 different architects and did the 8 different sections of Giles Lake. Kaiser built Vanport, so he had a very different vision than maybe the people that designed this, because it's not the same people. It's not, they are just people with the same problem. We need housing for workers with very different ideas. I think Kaiser came from that old timber town idea that he wanted all the money. You know, that's how the old timber towns are. A lot of these old,
Sure.
when he's the employer. Where the other guys at HAP are the real estate developers, and they made sure that Giles Lake was all on leased land, so they never owned the land. It was the land that had been infilled from the Lewis and Clark Exposition, it was marshland, and because of the Great Depression, it never got built on, so it was just this, we wanted to do it, but everyone's still fighting about how to deal with the flooding problems. No one thought something was gonna flood, they thought Giles Lake was, and it had some floods that I read about. But that was one thing, by getting the government to come in, they had to do a lot to make the site, and that's the nice thing is, you could never get individual owners to all agree, but when the federal government came in and it's wartime, they had a lot more ability to negotiate and really put down an infrastructure of streets. And that's why so many of the streets have early war battle names. So, that a little bit. Junior Fire Brigade. Chuck, I know you were on it. Did anyone else participate in Junior Fire Brigade? Got a few more pictures. We got Chuck. This is one of your pictures, Chuck. These are all from the city archives, and what's been interesting is this picture and this picture weren't in the Giles Lake collection. I went back to the city archives doing some more research for the book, and I started finding pictures that weren't from Giles Lake, but from all these years of getting to know you guys, I went, hey, these are pictures, these mislabeled pictures. I went through kids in wartime file, and I got a lot more of this stuff moved
Where it
into
belonged.
like, and also old oral histories I've taken, because I disappear from the world, and all the videotapes of past reunions, the original copies and stuff, I've donated all of that to the city archives. I know some of you had signed release forms to have it given to the Oregon Historical Society. I just find the Oregon Historical Society, the access and the copyrights and just the different things for everyone to have access to, it's free and like, so I took these with my point and shoot camera, I didn't even pay for scanning. To they'll charge you $5 to scan an image if you want to get scanned. So a lot of the images I have are actually in the city archives. And they have a lot of the hat collection that was at the Oregon Historical Society when I started this has all been moved to the city archive. So there's been an effort to really try to get all of this wartime history. And if you have, and I got a pitch for Brian and Mary over the city archives, if you have any pictures, they would love to have them. And then they'll keep it all together in one collection. So just so you guys know that that's a place. And so if I've done an oral history with you, and the tape recording was audible and good quality, that's where I've donated to with the transcript and the original consent forms and everything. So someday your children can go there and listen to it.
Were house fires common?
That wasn't a house fire, that was an industrial fire. It was taken from my front porch, but that was an industrial fire, probably over on 29th and Upshur, over there somewhere.
I saw you wink, mister. Elijah.
What's that?
You're winking back there.
Well, I was wondering, that's the house that got fire over there. Then Marvin had something to do with it.
No, it wasn't me that had something to do with it. Yeah, I ran out the front door.
So did you have house fires?
They'll tell a story if we can get them. I've heard it.
And Marvin.
Will you tell it with the wife there?
I absolutely forgot about that.
He went to the back bedroom and went in the closet and was playing with matches. And the only thing bad is that I had, for Christmas, I got a brand new sheepskin jacket. It was my pride and joy. It went the same way as the smoke did. But he shut the door, when it started, he shut the door and he came back and opened the door and the smoke rolled out of the building and we had to leave.
So Beverly Mescal has never let me forget about
I
it.
know.
Every time I see her.
Yeah,
Those fires she is.
We're gonna have to, we don't have much more time before they're gonna throw us out.
Okay.
I had some people coming. But obviously any of these books we can check out. And then I'm willing to go over and listen to baseball along with all of you. I've got a picture of the Gauze Junior Patrol, and this badge is actually from the police museum. I'm sorry that it's kind of sideways, but this badge here is actually a Junior Patrol badge. So they have it actually at the police museum here in Portland. And then this is a picture we got. I was really hoping that he was related to Gloria because his last name's Campbell. It turns out he's not. Gloria Cash Campbell usually comes to a lot of our reunions. And his brother was the first African American to fly a fighter jet in World War II. And so and he was here it is. I think the thing about why this was integrated and the fire brigades were segregated was because the housing was segregated and the teenagers and young adults who learned how to do that, to fill in that void, had to be in the housing. And since the housing was segregated and you were trying to work as a team in case your house is caught in fire, that was why it was segregated, not because there was any intention that this age group needed to be segregated in any way. And so, because this was a organization to work on graffiti and broken windows, and just to try to make it so the police didn't have to deal with the petty crime issues and try to build more compassion and social capital among the young, this was totally integrated.
Campbell family was moved from Guile Court to the Chapman area.
Okay.
And Mrs. Campbell, the mother, was on the Friendly House board with my mother.
This is why I keep bringing up new pictures every year. See how I'm sneaky?
Triggers memories.
It does. And then, I keep, all of these have the wartime slogans on them, which you caught on. Boys and girls every day can give war aid many away. So it's this idea that, kids today don't really maybe always have that idea that they're working towards a goal. And the hero is like everywhere. Posters in your school, in your school newspaper, in the newsreels, in your comic books, just this, come together, work as a team for a common cause. I've got a bunch more, like bicycles and some composition dolls. You're talking about composition guns, but they also started making dolls out of composition. And they crack, and they don't last well in the environment. I've got a couple at home that I could have brought in today, but it was raining, and there's no way, because the humidity would just kill them. And then I was talking about Tootsie Rolls a little bit. Here's a Tootsie Roll ad. Uncle Sam says you gotta do it. Look at the Tootsie Roll heroes. These kids eat Tootsie Rolls, and they make bandages, and they melt their toys, and they collect metal scrap. I've heard a lot of kids who actually donated their toys. So not only did you not get a lot of toys at Christmas, you're actually taking your toys and giving them. Did anyone actually give away toys to have them melted? toothpaste tubes, nothing, no, you held on, okay.
Pearson kids and I collected rubber tires. Just took them below Montgomery wards. And, got some money for them.
Really?
And, they weighed them up and we collected metal, scrap metal also.
I heard Linton won the scrap metal drive with the school. I wonder if that's because they're so close to the industrial area. They're like, this is a picture, apparently something like a slide they showed before the movie. Did you guys ever see anything like this? See, this is where historians aren't allowed to like, did you or not? I don't know. It seems like you might have. Captain America, you've got, buy war stamps.
I see that slogan that says, America needs your money, buy war bonds. And I'm struck by the fact that the idea nowadays of giving the government money because they're in need is so foreign to us.
The victory gardens, grow it yourself, plant a farm
Oh,
garden.
yeah.
Now, are these from you guys?
What?
Some of these pictures came to me after the last reunion.
Uh-huh.
Email.
I think that's Eldon standing to that.
Oh, did you
I
have
think that is
somebody
my-
that was
Not
neither?
Eldon, but that looks like.
Let me look.
That looks like Eldon.
Because I'm gonna need some help with,
Up above with,
That's-
is it
that's
Bible?
Eldon.
Okay.
Is that a Bible?
This is
open?
Eldon right
Yeah.
here.
So you guys sent me about 150 pictures after the last reunion.
I think
And
he
had
did,
some
not me.
stranger do it. It's
Yeah,
okay.
he did.
Well, I'd love to sit
That's
down
him.
with you and really kind of understand those
Yeah.
pictures. And there
I
was
think that's
what
his-
they were scanned page by page with the the plastic on the photo album. So sometimes I get a lot of glare on them, and then I kind of cut them apart.
That's his first communion picture when he's,
Right there.
Yeah.
Eldon ran out of the room. He missed.
I don't know what happened to him.
oh, he went off.
You heard he's in the first communion pictures up yet.
He'll be back.
By the
Tell
way,
him I put his first communion
that
picture
bottom
up.
picture is not a victory garden, that fence around it's all flowers.
This is flowers.
Those are all flowers.
Chuck, what are you doing planting flowers?
That, not my fault, that was our neighbors, that was our
Okay.
neighbors.
Okay.
And that's one thing, you didn't see many fenced in yards like that.
Your first communion picture's up on the wall, sir?
Well,
I've
mine,
been
how
told.
about that? Yeah, I was
There you
saved-
are, right there.
Saved before I knew it.
Honey,
Yeah.
did you send her that picture? Or did Beverly?
I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna definitely get in touch with you guys.
I think that's the same picture, yeah.
And then, I also like, making do, like just how the swing set was made here. And then, I've got a picture of the aerial when it was all sand before Giles Lake was put there, before the housing was put there. Just to give an idea of like, it's awfully hard to grow in that surface. Just that, tin cans and a garbage pile are just another way of saying Heil, it's real. So, the young gentleman, William, who gave me this picture, said his parents made that out of wood, that was carved for him. It was not store-bought as a toy. And, are you ready, what about you, schools at war, like, this home front fighting? I think that's it, and we're about to be thrown out anyway. Thank you so much for coming. I know we usually get to do more show and tell stuff.
Appreciate you organizing and carrying
Yeah.
on the theme.
Good day, Tanya.
Thanks.
So that's what you're talking about on Fridays, coming in and having to hand paint this. Did you see?
What
So-
number did you live down there?
Show it to the show it to
Yeah,
us, Chuck.
yeah.
Over here, Chuck, show me. Can I see it? Flash it.
Years did you live
Yeah,
down
see
there?
color.
Hang on.
So you're seeing on Fridays coloring those in? Get out early.
That's what he was talking about, printing and then they would run them off on a model lead.
Oh, yeah.
Something, yeah.
Oil paint, print model lead, and that was a cover.
When did all the houses?
So congratulations again on your doctorate degree.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations.
That's very impressive.
And so, yeah, I definitely wanna keep meeting with all of you and,
Oh, so
and you see my questions have expanded.
That's what happens, you write something, you find all the stuff you forgot, you didn't know when you wrote it.
Right, well,
Are you teaching PSU?
no, because it's the application. I was teaching before I graduated. Once I graduated, that slot's taken.
If you've been in the 8th grade, what year would it have been? Or what year when you started high school?
Well, I graduated high school in '58, so it'd be
Okay, you were
53,
54. So I graduated recently, 8 and a half years. I had 2 sisters. They've been 2 and 4 years behind.
Yeah, I'm 71.
Is that where you went to Jefferson?
No,
and they had them segregated. The ones that were, working on
Or the
the
souls
servicemen,
consent.
the servicemen.
Yeah, it's okay.
The servicemen, they were segregated. Isn't that something?
What year was that?
1948, that was the Van Portland law.
Oh.
We lived in Orange over a lot of my temperatures. They had inside jobs, you know, and they didn't get the weather report. So I went outside. Well, even now, you know, when the weather report comes on, I still wake up because, you know, being a guard on a 16 to work until I was almost 50 years old, why, the weather report was everything.
Yeah, that's right.
2, 1. One soft.
Alright, we're leaving too.
You did a good job.
I could tell. It must have been a great show. Darn it, we missed it. Oh.
Alright, thank you. Alright, boys.
All right, we're going to play some originals. We're going to play some covers. This is an original from Bill over here called Elvis Just Left the Building. The trouble at the